Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's session. Today's webinar is Programmatic Advertising for Event Marketers. It's been a really hot topic with all of our clients over the last couple of months, and we wanted to digest all the information into a really easy to understand session. We've got a presentation from Alex, and then we've got a whole bunch of questions that you guys have been submitting all week for us, which is really, really helpful. So it's all the stuff that everybody wants to know. And the idea behind today is we want to democratize programmatic. We want to make it easy to understand. We want to make it more accessible and a really valid part of your digital marketing strategy. So just as a reminder, we've got 30 minutes today. It's all recorded, sorry, so you can watch it on demand. And we will have some time for additional questions at the end, and Alex will show you how to ask those. So without further ado, we will get started and move over to Alex, who is our amazing head of PPC, knows all there is to know about programmatic advertising, and is going to make it all nice and easy for us. So over to you, Alex.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Hello, everyone. I hope you're good today. So before we start, you can ask any questions by scanning this code or just visit menti.com and use the code A2117502. And also, you can ask a question, but also you can rate questions asked from the others. So that means that some questions are probably more interesting for you, or you're more interested in them. I have this information on every single slide, so you can, anytime you can enter Menti and ask your question. So before we start, I was thinking how to explain this very complicated stuff, and then I found one video which I think is worth to watch, and it explains what's the fabric behind programmatic, and I'll just give it a go. Just give me a second.
This is a 2012 guide to the digital display market. To give some perspective, we need to go back to see how media was traded online from the very start. Back then, there was an advertiser, or an agency representing an advertiser, who would buy ad space on a website. The website owner was known as a publisher. The buying and selling of ad space was initially just direct. This ad space was appropriately named inventory. The currency which was created from this inventory was impressions. The advertiser, or agency, bought impressions in the thousands. They then created the ads and filled the space. As time went on, publishers began to create thousands of web pages, which led to millions and billions of unsold inventory. This gave rise to a new set of companies called the ad network. The ad network acted as a sales representative or broker, buying unsold or remnant inventory from the publisher. They applied technology, aggregated the audiences, and sold packaged inventory on to the buyer, making it easier for them to target who they wanted. Barriers to entry for the ad networks were relatively low, and after some time an issue arose. There were lots of ad networks. In fact, hundreds of competing business models that were trading inventory in different ways. This made it hard for everyone, as they had to deal with lots of different companies looking for the best price to buy and sell their inventory. It also meant that advertisers could be buying the same audience more than once. There was a desperate need for more efficiency, which gave rise to a brand new business model called the ad exchange. The ad exchange created an opportunity for the buyers and sellers to trade audiences rather than inventory in the thousands. Sellers would make their audiences available on the platform. Buyers could then pick their audience and bid on them. The winner of the bid could now have their ad in front of the right audience at the right time. So, impressions could now be bought in two ways: the ad network, where it was aggregated and packaged up, and the ad exchange, where there was the opportunity to buy a specific audience. Both buy and sell side saw a massive opportunity here to increase efficiency and use technology to help the process of buying and selling. Some agencies created their own proprietary agency trading desk or invested in demand-side platforms, which gave them the ability to trade on the ad exchange efficiently and in real time, using data to influence their decision-making. So, that's the buy side. What about the sell side? Some publishers sold directly on the exchange. Others invested in a group of companies called sell-side platforms, which optimize the selling points for the publisher. The promise of this new workflow is exciting, but let's not forget about the ad network. The ad networks are still a convenient way to buy and sell media. If anything, there's now a new opportunity for them to buy and sell on the ad exchange, leveraging their offering. These systems work with data. The more advertising that is bought through these platforms, the more data is gathered and the more intelligent the systems will become. It's an exciting time. As a marketer, it's important to figure out where you fit and what data you can leverage to take advantage of real-time advertising.
Okay, so that was a quick overview of how actually everything works behind the scenes. I know that it's very complicated. There's a lot of new acronyms and you can be lost, but it's just something different. So just a second. So moving on, I just want to talk a little bit more about a few myths about programmatic advertising. So the first myth is that it works only for brand awareness, which was actually the case in the beginning of all this new ecosystem, advertising system. So most of the ads were basically, and they're still selling on CPM basis, but their main objective will be just to get impression. Then the second one is that a programmatic is applicable only for the big advertisers with the huge budgets. Yeah, probably they have the most benefit from using programmatic, especially if you're a big company like Coca-Cola or McDonald's. You need the millions and trillions impression every single day across all the inventory on the web. So they use them, and they have a lot of benefits if they want to show some new product or service. But actually, it's not necessary to have a huge budget to use programmatic. And as you know, everything is in the targeting. They're always in the targeting. And the third myth is that programmatic is not good for event marketing, for event organizer, because it's expensive and need higher budgets. So that's probably not 100% true, but there's some truth as well in that, because you need to have budget to use programmatic, but you don't need to have a huge budget. So moving on, I just have one slide here with targeting, because I'm sure probably you ask what's the difference in targeting between programmatic and other, like Google Display or something like that. So basically, in a nutshell, in programmatic, you have just more detailed targeting compared with GDN. Also, it's different in some senses. For example, you have detailed demographics, you have geo-targeting, it's the same like Google Display Network. You have day and time targeting, which is similar to Google Display Network. But for example, you have browsers, connection speed, and connected TV targeting, which is not available exactly in that way in Google Ads. The most important part, of course, is audiences. So we have in DV360 or other programmatic platforms, we have first party and third party audiences, which means that first party is that basically your data, and third party is someone else's data. So you can basically borrow the data that the audience already created, and there's a lot of like audience providers that you can basically hire the audience and use it in your advertising or your strategy. In your strategies, keep in mind that this option is not available in Google Ads at all. Also, some other thing is that you can basically create an audience based on activities. So based on how users interact with your ads, for example, or you can get a tag-based audience, which is similar to normal remarketing audience based by tag, and also custom lists, which are user emails. Apart from audiences, we have, of course, some other different type of targeting, like content targeting, which is contextual. One of these is contextual keywords targeting, which was something that were available in the past in Google Ads, but now it's not. So now this is called custom audience in Google Ads, but here you can target by the keywords contextual, which means you need to have a keyword somewhere in the content, and based on that, you can serve your ads. The other thing is apps and website placements. So that's kind of similar to the managed placement in Google Ads. You can pre-select websites and basically serve your ads over there. Of course, they need to be part of some of the exchanges that your programmatic platform is signing. Something interesting here is that we have advanced frequency capping options and viewability options, which are not available in Google Ads. By frequency capping, for example, you can say, I don't want to see these ads more than once per hour. So there's granularity up to hour. In Google Ads, it's up to day. And from viewability, you can say, okay, I want my ad to be shown on 60% or whatever, 70%. And also you can say where your ads wants to be placed, for example, above the fold or somewhere at the bottom of the page. So you have all that options. Also, probably here is good to say that in terms of advanced negative targeting, you have a better control of your brand. So brand safety is very important for programmatic because, historically there's like a lot of kind of fake impressions and things like that. So you can very good manage where your brand is shown. In terms of inventory, what you can access, so you can access high quality websites and apps across all the screens. So you can show your ads on top broadcasters and publisher, Google Media, and curated inventory packs. So there's a lot of different way for buying inventory through programmatic. I'm just going to just very quickly go through that. You may have guaranteed buying, which means that you basically get in touch directly with the advertiser and say, I want 1 million impressions. This is probably not something applicable for event, but for someone like McDonald's, it's applicable. The other one is non-guaranteed but fixed, which means that when there is available inventory, you're the first in the queue that can buy it. And then non-guarantee, which is basically real-time auction, which we mostly use. And in terms of how we can use programmatic in events, so we can basically do two things. Just explain it simple from prospecting and from remarketing point of view. So from prospecting point of view, we can do hand-picked placements based on your event industry categories. Let's say you're running a construction event, so you know where all constructions professionals are. So we have this website as a list, or if we don't have it, we do a research first and then basically say, okay, we want our ads here on this list of website, and this works really well. We have a few cases with that. Also, you can do contextual targeting based by the keywords. So if you have a keywords even you use for your search campaigns, you can say, okay, I want my ads to show on pages that contains this keyword somewhere in the text, which is again contextual targeting. And from remarketing part, we have first party, so your custom data list, and the good thing is the third party, which is something probably I'll encourage you to try, because there's a lot of companies just selling or giving you an option to use their audience to your purpose. And of course, some additional strategies based on your specific requirements and needs. In terms of creatives, so in terms of creatives, we have all the standard stuff that we can do in Google Ads. So all the static banners, all the HTML5 banners, dynamic creatives, responsive acts, and some specific formats that can be built inside the programmatic platform. In our case, it's DV360. So basically, you have templates. They're different kind of ads. They're basically a little bit more engaged than normal responsive display ads, and also they look different. So you can really distinguish one from another. Then apart from that, which is everything like standard banners plus something made in the platform, we have a video ads which can be YouTube, or basically you can upload a video file and use this file across the video inventory. There is also a TV ad, so you can basically advertise on connected TV and other digital services. And the last thing that were kind of introduced probably a year and a half ago is audio ads, which is basically something like a radio advertising, but basically you can use that in Spotify, Amazon Music, or at SoundCloud and all streaming services. I think this is my last slide. This is just a simple example of a few different ads that you can create directly in the platform. So as you know, when we do responsive display ads, we ask you guys for logo, headlines, descriptions, images. So these are created in the same way, but they just look different. They have a different feeling. Some of them are animated. So for example, you put a few descriptions and then there is an animation changing the text in the description, or changing the backgrounds, or some different stuff. Yeah, so that's blank state, cue card, native video, and audio ads. They have different requirements, but that's just to give you a feeling of how they can look like. And that's me for now. So Laura.
Great. Thanks, Alex. That's really good, and I think useful for everybody watching. And essentially for event marketers, we want advanced targeting, improved creative, and access to premium publishers. So I think that will fit the needs perfectly. Great. So I think we're going to go to questions that the lovely Steph is managing for us. And we know that people have been submitting these through LinkedIn all week. So that has been really helpful for us to see where everybody's head's at. So let's start off. Is this how I can access premium inventory? How would you answer that, Alex?
I think the answer is that's one of the ways. So imagine, I'll give an example. Imagine you're CNN, for example, if we say this is a premium placement. So they sell the inventory in completely different bases. So you can tap on that inventory sometimes through Google Ads, but it's most likely to be enabled through real-time bidding to get impression through programmatic. So yes, that's one of the way, and you have just more kind of exposure basically through programmatic.
And would I be right in saying it's really getting you to the front of the queue, so you might still be able to access CNN says a managed placement on GDN, but to be at the front of the queue to get the best kind of inventory, you know, that's going to kind of elevate your position and the creative. Great. Okay, thanks for that. Okay, next question. What creative options are there on programmatic? So I guess you just touched on that, but I think that's always a big area. So maybe we could just go over that again.
Yeah, so basically you can have all the standard stuff you do in Google Ads, which means static banners, animated banners, and then on top of that, HTML banners as well. On top of that, we can have video, which is YouTube and native video, plus audio, plus we have a different kind of templates. We can create more engaging kind of ads that are specific for the DV360 in our case.
And I think it does a couple of things really well. There's no limit on the file size, which is a constant issue we come up against on GDN, which I think will help a lot of people do something a bit more advanced. And yeah, like you say, maybe it's more advanced than the typical responsive display creative, which sometimes gets some kind of negative feedback in terms of flexibility. So yeah, two other benefits.
Yeah.
Great.
Also, something I want to add here is that keep in mind that all these templates, they're also responsive, so they can fit everywhere.
Yeah, no, that's good, helpful. Great, next one. What targeting options are there?
So in terms of targeting, we have a standard stuff like a geo, gender, demographic targeting. And also we have contextual targeting, which can be placements and keywords. And also apart from that, the most interesting part is the audiences. So the audiences can be your remarketing audience based by tag, your remarketing audience based by your users' emails, or third-party audiences coming from someone else.
Yeah,
I think
and I think that's probably the most interesting, like you said, to our clients. And it's hard to find maybe new audiences, especially with the retirement of cookies. But say you're in market for B2B food buyers who are in market ready to purchase, like that's a really niche, really valuable audience, and that's something that we can reach, which we just wouldn't be able to do on any other network.
Exactly.
Great. Next one. Why is programmatic better than Google Display? Do you tend to see better results?
So it's not better. It's just something different. I wouldn't say it's better. It's just a next level in terms of targeting, in terms of exposure. So if just to summarize it in a simple way, when we use Google Display Network, we use just one exchange, which is Google Ads Manager. But when we use programmatic, we can access, for example, 80 different exchanges. So that just brings us a lot more inventory compared with the Google Ads, with the Google Display Network. So that's why I don't want to say it's better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I guess it depends on the client needs as well. If they say, I want to scale up, I've got a launch and I need to be on all the premium placements, maybe programmatic is better for those requirements. Whereas if someone says they've got a small budget and I want to focus just on retargeting and it's more about conversion, then of course you can do conversion on DV360 as well. But I guess it depends.
I can give you just an example. For example, if you want to start an event, let's say in Los Angeles, for example, we can get an idea what are the most visited websites in the Los Angeles publisher website, and we can just target them. So that can give you a lot of exposure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great. Okay, next one. Yeah, we knew this was going to come up. So what budget do we need for programmatic to be worthwhile? I think that's an interesting question.
Okay, so yeah, that's a really interesting question. I'll say there is no limit of how less you can spend or how much you can spend. We recommend if you want to try to start something with $5,000 or pounds, that's a good start to get a feeling of the what you're going to get from that one. In general, if you want to be efficient, you need something like a 20K, like a starting point, I would say. What do you think, Laura?
Yeah, no, I agree. And, we've seen clients test it for less, and I think you will get something, you will get some sort of response, or if you've got a very specific requirement. But yeah, I think about 5,000 is a good start point. And then to really see kind of the scale of what it can do, I think it is kind of maybe about 20K just on programmatic will make a huge difference to your campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. Next one.
If we use programmatic, do we still need to use display? Is that the same placement? So we can use them both. Some placement may be overlapped, but no, they are not the same placement. For basically, okay, I'll try to explain. If it's the same placement, a single impression can be bought from Google Display Network or from someone else with that specific time of whatever day, that specific second. So they're available for most of them, and you can get an impression, but it's most likely to get it through programmatic rather than display, because it goes like the next one. So the first things are guaranteed deals. I'm talking from the publisher point of view. Guaranteed deals, there's no guarantee fixed. There comes a normal programmatic, which is real-time bidding, and after that comes like a AdSense serving ads, which is Google Display Network.
So if you were allocating the budget to programmatic, would you recommend that you just keep your programmatic running and you wouldn't do display additionally, do you think?
Yeah, you can do them
Probably
both.
for simplicity. Okay,
Also,
you could do them both.
yeah, also I'll say there is a different kind of targeting. So some targeting are not available in GDN, some targeting is not available in programmatic. So you just need to think more strategically how to do it.
Great. Oh, well, thank you so much, Alex. That was really helpful, and I hope everybody watching found it useful. So please share the recording amongst your colleagues once you get that email to you later. And anything else that you think of later, please email us at info@tagdigital.co.uk. Thank you so much for joining.